Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sunny.
I'm the other host, Caleb.
The hostess with the mostest. Alrighty. Well, as we lead into today's podcast, this will be airing Tuesday, May 18th, 21. And for those that are just now joining us, we want to thank you so much for being here. For those that have been listening from the start, thank you also for being here. We're always happy to have everybody listen that can. We air every Tuesday and Friday, and we're always here to bring you the latest and newest Yu-Gi-Oh! News, updates, and everything else. What are we talking about today, Caleb?
Well, I believe we should start with the European Remote Duel Extravaganza that just took place this past weekend.
So this ended on Sunday?
Yep. Oh, yeah, they ended Sunday, and we got all the results and all that in.
So, but it's not just one it's not just like, it wasn't just one tournament. It was kind of a couple of tournaments, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was just Remote Duel Extravaganza Europe. It was just kind of all of Europe. So the UK had one. I know Germany had one. Couldn't find the results for that.
Okay.
And then the Netherlands had one. I was able to really find the results for the UK and for the Netherlands.
Okay, so what we do have, though, from those results is some interesting data. Mainly what we want to look at is the top 8 breakdowns because because of the nature of having a bunch of tournaments for a bunch of different countries each day, we don't really have like good data to break everything down. So we don't, for example, have, from maybe 15 tournaments, you have this representation across 300 duelists. Because, for example, the Netherlands one was only 49 duelists.
Yeah.
So we don't have, huge representation numbers, but what we do have is the top 8, which for some of these is, really interesting. And the main ones we're going to talk about are the UK and the Netherlands.
Now, do keep in mind, we were recording this Monday night, the day after it happened, so there's not a lot of information about it out yet. That might change in the future, but do keep in mind.
We had some trouble when we were sourcing this. Mainly Caleb, bless his heart. I've been out of town all weekend, so that's why we're recording. Usually we record Sunday afternoon. We're recording Monday night because I literally just got back to my house 15 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, and then after this, I'm going to go edit and get this posted before 8 a.m.
Right. So, bless his heart, Caleb did all the research by himself. I wasn't able to help out, and normally we try to do it together, and it kind of makes things easier because normally if one of us can't find it, the other one can. So if it's just one of us doing all of the research, it kind of, I'm not going to say the research is bad because Caleb does do a very good job, but it kind of creates a lot more of a backlog of research that needs to be done, so it's maybe not quite as thorough.
Yeah.
So, nothing on your research skills, Caleb.
Yes, I tried very hard.
So
I never said they were good.
So, the main things that we're going to talk about, we're going to start with the top 8 from the UK, which looks like we had 2 Zubergade, which is starting to become kind of more commonplace. We'll get into that more later. The Dragon Link, 1 Code Talker, let's see, 1...
Goki.
Yeah, 1 Goki, 1 Infernoble, Shadal Invoke Dogmatica, and a Trap Burning Abyss deck. A 50-card Trap Burning Abyss deck. No Prank Kids.
No Eldritch.
No Eldritch, which is kind of hilarious because that's the exact opposite of what we see in the top 8 Netherlands. Let's rattle off the top 8 in the Netherlands, and then we'll go down one by one.
That's fair enough. So first off, with the Netherlands, we actually have the rankings. So first place, the deck that won the whole kit and caboodle was Pranklich again.
So that's the Eldritch Prank Kid variant?
Yup.
I'm really interested to see the deck list there.
I know, right? Then second place was Eldritch Orcust. Third place was Drytron Megalith Vindred.
We listen. We workshopped a name on this because. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna let you finish your thing off first.
Okay. And then we had, after that, Dragon Link, your standard Dragon Link, and then another Drytron Megalith Vendread deck.
This is why we decided to workshop a name.
Yeah, it's just a mouthful. And then we had Dino at 6th. 7th place was Shadal Dogma with a twist. We'll get to that in a minute. And 8th place was Phantom Knights.
Okay, I think the most important thing, out of all of these two top 8s, is to talk about this Drytron Megalith Vendread name that we came up with. It's clearly the top priority.
Okay, so first off, Drytrons are
space
robots.
It's the constellation thing.
Yeah. And then
Megaliths are rocks.
Vendreads are based off of body horror type of popular culture, like John Carpenter's The Thing or Resident Evil. So we decided one name we came up with was Mutant Space Rocks.
That's got to be the name of this deck, is Mutant Space Rocks.
Possibly.
I mean, it's fit. It's too funny.
It also flows better, in my opinion.
We can call it MSR.
There we go, MSR.
Ooh. Alien Space Mutant Rocks. Asmer. And then your shuffling can be all Asmer and be all perfect.
It's pronounced ASMR.
Sure, whatever. You knew what I was talking about, though.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
This deck is ASMR. That's perfect.
Anyway.
Alien Space Mutant Rocks.
Anyway, so let's start with that's Code Talker deck. The biggest things I found...
So this is from the UK top 8.
Yes. The biggest thing I found was that their biggest thing they abused was a card called Nightmare Corruptor Ibly.
I think this card was a problem in a format that we did not play in, so other people that have already played against this card may know what it is. We do not.
Yeah, all I know is that you can do something with it, and especially when it's your opponent's side of the field, and as long as it's sitting there, your opponent can't conduct any special summon that isn't a link summon.
So they can only link summon.
Correct. They can't special summon out of the hand, they can't activate Monster Reborn, they can't World Legacy Guard Dragon, they can't fusion summon, they can't exceed summon, they have to link summon.
That's really interesting, too, because when you think about it, in today's format, even though link summons are a prevalent thing, I mean, decks like Dragon Link are obviously prevalent, but when you consider something like Zodiac or some Prank Kids, even some of the newer stuff like Us Arctic and stuff, they're more of Xyz and Ritual and the Drytron. So Xyz, Ritual, Synchro strategies, fusion based, things like that. So being able to only link summon is a lot more of a hindrance than it may have been like a year ago.
Oh yeah, but then something else you also got to keep in mind is that a lot of decks probably didn't run any link monster. They could just go, I'll just link the Ibly, or normal summon link 2, where they could just generic link.
Right. Something that we noticed going through the few deck lists we were able to find is the Nightmare package is really not heavily being run right now.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
Well, I think it's because there's so much combo right now. The extra deck space is too tight in most of these decks.
That makes a lot of sense. And then you would also abuse Code Generator and Microcoder, which their whole thing is if you link summon a Code Talker monster, you can use these as link material from your hand.
Oh.
And then, of course, you also have Synat Codex and Synat Optimization that kind of give you a little bit of extra back play with your Code Talkers. And then you would then basically end your turn with a Code Talker on board, usually Xcode, because I think it's an Omni Negate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd set Synat Conflict, which is a counter trap Omni Negate that banishes, but then it also prevents other copies of that card from being used for the rest of the turn.
Gross. So if you activate Synat Counter or Conflict, which is a counter trap, then you can do something like when they activate the effect of Safer or World Legacy Guard Dragon, activate and then banish it. And then it'll prevent the other copies from being used.
For the rest of the turn, anyway.
I wonder if you use it against something like the Golden Lord, like that can be brutal.
Oh yeah, because then they're locked out of their Golden Lord for the turn. If you save it for whenever Dragon Link go into Striker and hit the Striker with it, they're locked out of Striker for the rest of the turn.
Oh, and if you're against Pure Shadal, you can do Construct. That would be gross.
Less the Construct, I personally would just hit the Fusion spell, because then even if they have another copy in hand, they can't activate it for the rest of the turn. It's just a dead card in hand. Even if they recur it back to their hand, it's still dead.
Well, that's only if they have multiple of the same fusion spell. If they have different fusion spells, though, then it doesn't really impact anything.
Oh yeah, but you get or even
save it for the schism, I guess.
Yeah, or even hit Alistair with it.
Oh yeah, or the invocation and banish the invocation.
Yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of different ways that you could do that.
Yeah.
And they also ran Firewall.
Well, that makes sense. Firewall now being so Cybers oriented, and it's all Cybers monsters.
It's because they didn't. All they really changed with its effect is that they limited its effect to Cybers monsters. That's all they did.
And hard ones per turn.
And hard ones per turn. So it's nowhere. So it's not as near as powerful, but it's still a powerhouse.
It's still a good card in a Cybers deck.
Oh, absolutely, it is ungodly. You know, even at a hard once per turn, that's still ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now the Goki deck, from what I could tell, is pretty much the same Goki deck that they ran about a couple of years ago. Only they ran a small PK package of just Phantom Knight boots and Fogblade.
Is that? I guess that's literally all you need.
Yep. Other than that, it was just your standard warrior toolbox, basically.
Interesting. I wonder if. I wonder what the exact It bothers me so much not having the exact deck lists, because some of these, having that exact deck list would really help in knowing what their thinking was behind certain things. Because if you're running the Burning Abyss package in a deck, some people run a Burning Abyss package basically just to have access to what's that warrior link to?
Oh, sold.
Yeah, right.
Well, the thing is that all the Gokis are already warriors.
Yeah, but can they really flood the field like Burning Abyss can?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I know that they had a U-Link combo that they used to do, and then a lot of people really hated the Goki U-Link deck, but I wasn't. I mean, that's one of those decks that we weren't in the game for.
Oh, yeah. So there's not a lot that I've like this is one of the decks that I did see the actual deck list for.
Right.
This and the Code Talker deck I was actually able to see the deck list for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fully understand how the deck works. I didn't see it until about an hour ago. I didn't see both until about an hour ago, so didn't really get a chance to see how the deck worked. Infernoble, standard Infernoble, another warrior toolbox. Standard Shaddoll Invoke Dogma. The Burning Abyss deck was only unique in that it was a 50-card trap variant.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, it looked like your standard Burning Abyss.
Right.
As far as I know. But I mean, Burning Abyss is going to do what Burning Abyss does.
That deck is really interesting to me, too. I never really know what the payoff is in Burning Abyss, other than, I guess, just building an intimidating board through things like Fogblade and Ice Dragon's Prisons, and then, using all those traps to back up your board, and then you can pop off next turn with something like is it Dark Rebellion Xyz?
Beatrice.
Well, yeah, but you use Beatrice as a combo piece, and one of your end board monsters, I think, is Dark Rebellion Xyz. Or rank up Magic Force and stuff.
I don't think Dark Rebellion, because all the Burning Abyss monsters, as far as I know, are all level 3. Because Dante is rank 3.
Yeah, but I think they link off the Dante.
Maybe.
Because they have, multiple of the link... Is it Bardiche?
Yeah, Rusty Bardiche, yeah. Well, no, this one was only running one. One Bardiche. But it was running it in Fogblade, so...
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Moving on. Let's see. We got that first place Prank Kids Eldritch, which... the only difference that I saw between this and the previous first place Pranklich deck...
Now, when you say previous first place, what tournament are we talking about?
Oh, that was... it happened a week ago. I don't even remember what tournament that was. It only happened a week ago, maybe 2.
Oh, was that the Chalice Line Monthly?
Yes, Chalice Line Monthly. That was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it topped there. The only difference between this build and the one that we saw there was the number of fusions. They upped the amount of Thunder Dragon fusion to 2, and then reduced the Prank Kid fusion down to 1.
Is that Pandemonium or Prank Kids Pranks, or is it?
I think it's Pandemonium. I don't remember which, but they reduced the Prank Kid specific fusion down to 1. which I think that was just I don't know if that was a case of just a personal preference, or if it was just that's how many I have.
It's probably a preference thing, because I think that Thunder Dragon Fusion might have a hair more. I think their fusion spell is searchable. So if it's searchable and quick play, then while yes, it is more versatile, you could get away with only running 1 instead of 2. Whereas the Thunder Dragon Fusions, you're more inclined to want to hard draw it.
That's fair.
So if you can't search it and you need to hard draw it, then it makes sense to run 1 extra of it. That way you can, I learned from a friend of mine a long time ago that if you want to see a card in your opening hand, if you want to guarantee you see it in your opening hand, you run 3. And then if you want to see the card, but not necessarily in your opening hand, you run 2. And then if it's a card that you want to run in your deck, but you don't necessarily want to see it, maybe you want to be able to search it or something like that, then you run 1. Granted, this is 2011, 2012 logic.
No, because that would still fit even in today's meta. Because I, as a Dragon Link player, only play 1 Brotar because I don't want to draw it. I want it to stay in deck.
Right.
Same reason why people don't run multiple Dragoon packages is because then the chance of you drawing one of your Garnets and losing out one of your Dragoons plus a card in hand that could have been something else is just way too high.
Right, especially when you can search it out of the deck with Vertate into Red Ice Fusion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that still stands even today. I think that's just
to a point at least, because I feel like there's a certain amount of now deck building is more optimized in such a way as we have more of an understanding of the percentages and values of why it's actually better to run 3 of a card versus 2 of a card. Even if it only adds 8% chance to draw into it, it's worth it to run, say, 3 Ash Blossom versus 2.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, Hand Traps is one of those cards where you're probably going to want to run 3 so you actually see them.
Right.
Anyway, let's see. Then Eldritch Orcust would seem to be just the standard Eldritch Orcust we'd seen in the past.
Important to note that we, at this point of this recording, we still do not have Harpor.
Yeah, we do not have Harpor. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, as we go later into the episode.
Third place was Drytron Megalith Vindred. It seems just...
ASMR.
Yeah, ASMR. Okay, so basically for me, looking at the deck type, it seemed the deck list. I was actually see this deck list as well. It focused around getting out Vindred Battlelord. So what
actually on field?
Yeah, so Vindred Battlelord has, I don't remember its attack stats, but it requires 2 Drytrons using the Drytron generic.
So maybe 4,000, 35, something like that.
Yeah, between 25 and 4K. Anyway,
big.
Yeah, he's beefy. But his effect is where exactly where the issue will come about. Banish 1 Vindred card from your graveyard. Declare card type, monster, spell, or trap. Pick one, doesn't matter. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate that type of card.
Is this a quick effect?
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, it's almost VFD level. Not quite, because with VFD you just eliminate your opponent's monster effects, and this you can do monster effects to a degree, spells and traps,
right?
Or traps. You can do, but with an actual cost involved, with a pretty major cost. You have to banish another Vindred to do it.
Right. So it's an interesting take on the deck. And really, it turns this Drytron deck, even though it only has 1 Ben 10, no Union Carry, into a different kind of oppressive deck. Because before it was all based around Vanity's Fiend, or is it Vanity's Ruler?
Yeah.
It was all based around Vanity's Ruler, and now it's more of, sure, I can do Vanity's Ruler, but I can also do this other thing. That way you don't have to rely as much on the Fairy engine with less Ben 10.
Now, something else that Vindred Battlelord does is that when it's sent to the graveyard, from the field to the graveyard, by any means, you add any ritual monster from deck to hand as well.
Right.
So you could very well just grab another one and go back into it a second time, or grab another ritual that you need.
Oh, so it really lets you loop into it. And is that a once per turn effect?
Yes.
Hard once per turn?
Yes.
Still good.
Still good. It's hard once per turn, but it's still good.
So, fourth, we have Dragon Link, which is a standard Dragon Link build.
Yeah. And then we have another Drytron Megalith Vindred.
ASMR.
Another ASMR deck, but I think these two players were, like, bouncing off each other and were talking about it because it looked like very similar. It's just that the amounts of some cards were tuned a little bit. Then we had Dino. The big thing about the Dino deck was that it was maining Red Reboot and siding a card that I didn't even know existed until this. Contact C.
Yeah. Look through your bulk, folks. This card may see some play.
Oh, yeah. So what it does is when your opponent normal or special summons, you special summon this card out of your hand to your opponent's field. The controller of this card cannot fusion, synchro, exceed, or link summon unless they use that card as material.
So this single-handedly will shut down probably the Prank Kids deck. It doesn't shut down the Eldritch deck necessarily. It shuts down the Zodiac engine of it, but not the Eldritch engine.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much any deck that cannot immediately use a 1500 attack, level 6 insect or earth insect monster as material for one of those summons, it just shuts them down.
Yeah. The only deck that's really going to be able to do something with that is maybe Virtual World, because they can... That'll just help them synchro level 6 into like a Shen Shen.
Yeah. If Shadal is running Shekinaga, they can make... if they're running Shekinaga, they can make Shek.
Yeah, but how many of them run Shekinaga?
Only pure Shadal, as far as I'm aware, and even then, that's iffy.
Yeah. All right. So next we have a Shadal Dogma deck. So is there any?
The only thing that was special was that they were running 3 copies of Gale Dogra.
I'm assuming they're running the Invoke package. Yeah.
No.
Oh, no Invoke package.
No, it's just Shadal Dogmatica, and they were running 3 copies of Gale Dogra.
Shadal Dogrammatica.
Yeah, Shadal Dogrammatica. So Gale Dogra is an old card that the...
is that Metal Raiders rare or something outrageous like that?
No, the TCG didn't get it until like a couple of years ago. It was...
it's an old...
Yes, but the TCG didn't actually get a copy of it until surprisingly recently. Okay, so basically what the card does, you pay 3,000 life points.
And it's getting a reprint in the Cyber-style structure deck.
For good reason. Okay, so like I said, you pay 3,000 life points, you go through your extra deck, and you get to send any card from your extra deck straight to the graveyard.
Right.
That's why they're running it, because then you can immediately...
Absolute Power Force.
Yeah.
That's the set that Red Dragon Archfiend came out in.
Yeah, surprisingly recent.
This is 12 years ago.
But I mean, you can find this card in a lot of the old video games from 1998, 1999, 2000.
Okay, so it was like really. It's one of those cards that were like released in Japan, but
we didn't get it till many years later.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I said surprisingly recently.
I would also like to say, this card, if you go to the Absolute Power Force sort price high to low, while it says it's only $1.40 card, it is like in the top like 20 most expensive cards of that set.
Oh yeah.
Garbage set.
Not only was it a garbage set, also you got to remember that those dollar copies are also probably damaged. You also got to keep in mind that the only deck that I could ever foresee running this exact card is Shadal Dogmatica.
Yeah, lowest near mint first is $2.
Yeah. Anyway, it was definitely an interesting space there.
Right.
Let's see. The next up, we got the Phantom Knights. Standard Phantom Knight ran a very small BA package of like Graph and Seer, I think.
Typical PK Fire deck.
Yeah, just... Let's see, moving on. We now have the Attack of the Giant card. The only reason why we bring up the Attack of the Giant card is... Well, first, second, and third place were won by Invoke Dogmatica, Dragon Link, and Zulich.
In that order.
That's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is fourth place, Pure Zodiac, with Shuffle Reborn.
So, we weren't in the format at the time, but I think this card was run like when this deck first came out, like when Tier 0 Zoo was a format, right?
2-0 for Zoo was a format, but no, this is when Zoo was Tier 1. not tier 0.
So after it takes like the first hit, but before it gets like...
I think this is after Rapier, but before Broadbolt and Trident, maybe. I don't know. It's
somewhere around there.
Yeah, but whenever this was at tier 1, people ran the Shuffle Reborn. What it does is, if you control no monsters on your field, obviously, you target a monster in your graveyard and special summon it, its effects negated. During the end phase, you banish it. Zoos are in a unique position where they can just bring out one of their zoo monsters and then just immediately overlay it. It's not going to get banished.
Right, so they can, say, bring a Ram out of the graveyard, immediately overlay into a Dryad or maybe a Borbo, attack for 400, and then go into a Zeus.
Exactly.
Right.
In addition, if Shuffle Reborn is in your graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard, target a card you control, shuffle into the deck, draw one card. But then during the end phase, you have to banish a card from your hand.
Okay, and each of those effects does have a hard once per turn.
Very hard once per turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's some interesting results, and there's probably some stuff to discern here if you listen close and read into it close and really look at what's going on. But that will bring us into our next segment.
Yes, but before we get in there, just a real quick thing I want to bring up. The sudden, seeing all the Zoo Brigade makes me think, what is this deck going to do whenever it finally gets access to Bear Bloom, the Solid Assault?
I think we're about to find out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move into the next part of the show here. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to do a metagame report and kind of a meta-analysis of the OCG as of, I think, May...
Like 5th?
Yeah. It's a pretty comprehensive breakdown. And the website that we have to thank for all of this is, which actually, now that I'm looking at it...
It's roadoftheking.com.
Yeah, this was published May 13th. So... we get all of this OCG information from roadoftheking.com every week. I guess Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, something like that. They publish a metagame breakdown of the entire OCG.
It's not every week, but every 2 to 3 weeks.
Generally, it's every week. Sometimes they'll skip a week and go 2 weeks if the tournaments were slow. But they'll literally just take every tournament that happens in the OCG, all the, anything with more than like 20 people in the OCG, which is China, Japan, and I think
South Korea,
the Philippines.
I think the Philippines are in TCG. I'm not 100% sure on that. Though.
Indonesia, maybe.
No.
I'm almost positive Indonesia is.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And Singapore. So they take all of these OCG tournaments that they can get any kind of results for, and they compile all of it into one big metagame breakdown. And it's very well put together. And I think this represents a total of, I think we did the math, it was like, 200 decks total?
Give or take a deck or two.
Like 185, something like that, 184.
Yeah.
So the really interesting part about this breakdown, the first thing that you notice when you pull this up is Tri-Brigade, just Tri-Brigade as a whole, is the top deck over there.
Oh, absolutely.
Far and away.
Keep in mind, they have Bear Bloom.
Yeah.
That's probably what's going to happen when we get Bear Bloom. I would not be surprised.
Right. So, Tri-Brigade over there represents 24.5% of their meta. So, which is 51 total decks from these combined tournaments. So, I think it's 194, 195, I think is the actual number.
Yeah.
Of total decks. So, 51 of the 195, per se, are all Tri-Brigade. Of those 51... 44 of them are Zodiac Tri-Brigade, 6 are pure Tri, and 1 is a Zodiac Lyrilisc Ancient Warriors Tri-Brigade deck. The thing to really view here, though, is that Tri-Brigade represents a quarter of their meta. I mean, we're talking... we haven't had something represent a quarter of the meta since Virtual World was running around with VFD. Think about how impressive that is.
Speaking of Virtual World with VFD, next up is Virtual World with VFD.
Right. Keep in mind, they have one copy of VFD over there.
Yeah, and rather than ban it, they just limited it in the OCG for some reason.
Well, there is some application because with the right hand, Virtual World can literally go double VFD.
That's fair.
So this will limit them from doing double VFD. And then if you can deal with the first one, then, realistically, your win percentage from there goes through the roof.
Oh, absolutely. because VFD is a big problem.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, they do see some prank kids, but nowhere near as much. But the OCG is a more control-oriented meta than a combo-oriented meta like what we got.
I don't know if that's true. I'm just gonna say it. Look, I know
that's in general.
I know that's been that's been like the popular, that's been like the popular thing to say for the last, I don't know.
That's a fair point.
5 years, 10 years. But like looking at this metagame breakdown, and really if you go look at the past metagame breakdowns from the rest of the format, I don't know that you can necessarily say that the OCG is more control oriented than we are now. Because if you look at this is combo. That's what this is.
No, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So after the 16 prank kids, we have 14 Drytron, and then Caleb, if it's all right with you, I'm just gonna rattle off. Until we get into the.
Hold on. Well, real quick with the Drytrons, keep in mind that with their Drytron, they have Mu Beta Fafnir, they have Union Carrier, they have Diviner the Heralds, and Ben 10 is still at 3. So this is full power Drytron.
Yeah, this is as good of a Drytron build as you'll ever see. So 14 Drytron, 14 Sky Striker, 14 Zodiac, 11 Orcus, 11 Shadal, 10 Code Talker, 5 Eldritch Invariants, 5 PK, 5 Adignisters, 5 Adamancipator, 4 Endymion, 4 Thunder Dragon. Then we get into Dragonmaid, Zephyra, Dino, Infernoid, Numeron, Spiral, Altergeist, Cyber Dragon, Dogmatica, Dark Magician. That's interesting. Madolce, 1 Magician. It just says Magician. I don't know what kind of magician. It just says magician.
I think that's magician pendulums like Astrograph, Sorcerer, and stuff like that, I think.
But wouldn't that be Endymion magicians? Because there's a whole Endymion category up here.
Maybe. Well, it might be...
Hell, I don't know. There's no telling. It could.
It just said magician.
It could be dark magician. It could be magician pendulums. It could be anything.
It could be a mix of all three.
Yeah. A pendulum dark magician deck. Kill me now.
Yeah.
Salamangreat and Subterra. So those are all the decks represented. The main ones to think about are, as we go into the real breakdowns here, like we talked about, Tri-Brigade. So we'll break down like the top 10 or so archetypes and stuff and really see where the big difference is in why they're such a big deal in the OCG versus the TCG. First things first is Tri-Brigade. Like we said, they have Bear Bloom the Solid Assault, which is the Tri-Brigade Link 2. And not only do they have that, but the other thing that they really have that cannot be understated, other things that they don't have to worry about.
Oh, absolutely. For instance, they don't have to worry about Dragon Link.
Right.
Invoked, just kind of not a thing.
Yeah, well, I think that might be one of the ban list differences. So.
With Invoked? No.
Oh, they don't have any Invoked on the ban list over there?
No, they don't. And I've looked at their ban list. The Invoke's just kind of not a thing.
So, we've got a typical deck list. When we say Zodiac Tri-Brigade over there, and we have the deck list pulled up, we're talking 3 Zoos, 1 Whiptail, 1 Ram, 1 Rat Pierre. Other than that, you're running 3 Fractal, 3 of the Tri-Brigade kit, 2 Karas, 3 Nerval, and that's it. That's your main monster lineup. Other than that, they're running 3 Max C's, 2 Effect Veilers, 3 Ash Blossoms, and then you get into your 3 10 keys, your 1 Barrage, 3 Desires, 2 Called By, 2 Crossouts, 1 Mystic Mine, the Harpy's Feather Duster, 3 Imperms, and 2 was that Zodiac Combo, the trap.
Yeah, something like that. Zodiac Combination,
Zodiac Rendezvous, something like that.
Yeah.
So the thing that stands out to me about this deck list is they're only running three names. They're only running 3 Zodiac names, and then they're running 1 of each of the main zoos in the extra. So 1 Chakanine, 1 Drident, 1 Borbo, 1 Tiger Mortar, and then Zeus. But the thing that stands out is that a lot of these Tri-Brigade lists, like a pure Tri-Brigade list, or even the Lyrilisk build, will be running 3 10 key and 3 Fractal. But if you open 2 Fractal and a 10 key, well, then you have to hard draw the other 2 Fractals. Or if you open 2 10 keys and a Fractal, you know what I'm saying? Where the ratios just kind of don't work out to where you have if you open multiple Fractal or something, then you're going to have dead 10 keys in deck.
That's a big if.
Right, but this mitigates that. So if you run one of each of the Zodiacs, you'll almost always have targets. Because you're not going to open all three of your Zeus and multiple Fractals.
Exactly.
So this will give you a much better chance to have targets for it, which is interesting. And then the Crossout Designators are obviously going to be able to target. Is Crossout Designator any card?
I think. I don't remember if it's any card or just any monster, but it can hit just about any hand trap.
Right. So the main thing that you have to think about with Crossout Designator is that you can cross out things like Max C. Oh, no. Crossout Designator is any card.
Yeah, any card name.
Right. So you can use Crossout Designator, declare Mystic Mine, send Mystic Mine from deck to grave. So here's an interesting thing that we've noticed looking at these metagame reports. Mystic Mine is popping up in a lot of deck lists as a one of.
Partially because if your opponent plays Mystic Mine, you can just Crossout Designator it. Secondly, it just hard counters Tri-Brigade.
Yeah, like it literally just, like, Mystic Mine is a pick it up and go to the next game for Tri-Brigade. They don't have an out.
Unless they also have opened with the Crossout Designator.
Or their Feather Duster. So, other than that, they would literally have to, like, normal summon Ram, go up into Borbo, swing direct, go up into Zeus, and then, even then, they can't activate Zeus because of Mystic Mine.
Yep.
So, it's an interesting conundrum. But if you look at some of these deck lists, you'll see that like 70 to 80% of these deck lists are running at least one Mystic Mine for the Tri-Brigade matchup.
Oh, yeah.
So their format is at the point where they're altering deck lists specifically to cater to this Tri-Brigade matchup because it's so prevalent.
Exactly.
So the next big deck that we're going to talk about is Virtual World, which is a typical Virtual World list. 3 of a bunch of the names, 2 here and there. 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Maxi, your Crossout Designators, your Called by the Graves, your E-Tellies, which is over there semi-limited, so they can run a couple of them. Chuches, the Other Trap, the King Longs, the Kowloons, and the one Mystic Mine specifically to counter Tri-Brigade. And the extra deck is typical. It's still Virtual World, and then they have 1 VFD, so it's still viable over there.
Oh, yeah. Again, they have VFD.
Yeah, I don't...
Bless their souls.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot more to say about this. What do you think?
I can't think of anything else. This is a Virtual World we had over here, but they still have VFD.
Yeah, pretty much. Here's a Prank Kids list. 1 Roxy's, 3 Lampsies, 3 Dropsies, 3 Fansies, 2 Nib, 2 Skullmeister. Probably for the Skullmeisters are probably specifically for the Tri-Brigade matchup.
Yeah.
Then you've got your Maxis, your Ash Blossoms, 1 Ghost Bell. That's interesting because that can be used in the Tri-Brigade matchup or they can be used with their 3 Crossout Designators.
Exactly. That's again, you're going to be seeing these weird one-ofs with hand traps. That's why.
It's super, super common in the OCG.
Yeah. Because if you have 1 Effect Veiler, one Ghost Spell, worst case scenario, you have an Effect Veiler or a Ghost Spell in hand. That's if you draw it and it's no longer Crossout Designator target. You can then just kind of use them.
Yeah.
Because they're hand traps. They're good hand traps.
Okay, so one of my favorite, just one of my dead favorite cards in this deck is, first of all, they're running Verta Anaconda, which I love. Because in this Prank Kids deck, you can use it and send Thunder Dragon Fusion. But the second you hit that Verta Anaconda, your opponent's going to negate it because they're thinking about Dragoon.
Exactly.
No, well, I guess in the OCG they're not.
Well,
that's a here thing.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Right. The thing that I love most, and here's the deck building choice that I love most in this Prank Kids deck. He's running a single Xyz monster. 1 Zeus.
Can't he just hard make it?
No. He cannot hard summon Zeus.
The only reason I would consider to do that is to cross out Designator, but I don't think cross out Designator would work that way.
Can't.
No?
How do you think he makes Zeus?
I have no idea.
He runs 2 triple tactics talents.
Oh, so just steal their monster, swing, make Zeus.
Yep, steal their Zeus, steal their Zoo monster, and then make Zeus.
Okay,
that's hilarious.
Or even steal their own Zeus, attack, overlay into your own Zeus.
Actually though, yeah.
Yeah, because with tactics talents, don't they get their monster back at the end of the turn?
Yes.
Yeah. So so they can't get it back if it's material for your Zeus.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
It really is. I love that deck building choice. And I really think that decks that run talents but don't run Zeus should really think about doing that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something to consider if you have the extra deck space.
Yeah. So some of the other things that we noticed, Tri-Brigade you'll see over here to a certain extent. Zodiac you'll see over here. Virtual World is not as prevalent here, but what we do have over here is there's still some little rogue Virtual World decks running around that are more Shen based, which is kind of what the deck is intended for, but it's still a good deck.
Then you're still going to see it. Yeah.
Then you have Prank Kids, which Prank Kids is the same pretty much. Drytron, we talked about the differences there. They have 3 Ben 10. They have
Beta Fafnir already, which we'll be getting soon.
They have Diviner.
They have Diviner the Heralds, which we'll be getting soon. They have full use of Union Carrier. Again, this is Drytron at maximum power because
right.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, Konami decided over here they needed to ban Union Carrier. I assume to sell Mu Beta Fafnir.
Probably, but Union Carrier is also one of those cards that the longer it exists, the more problem it creates. Think about things like the
exactly
Dragon Buster Destruction Sword.
Yeah, but they really should have made Union Carrier its effect exclusive to Union monsters.
Probably, but they didn't think that far ahead.
Either that, or they just didn't care enough.
Yeah,
or they did, and whatever. Enough conspiracy theories.
The next card we have the next deck to talk about is the Sky Strikers. What's really interesting here is we have Sky Striker Mobilize Engage is banned here. It's not banned over there. In fact, it's not even limited. It's at 2 copies.
2.
That's crazy to think about. Then there's Zodiac. They have Orcus has a large representation over there.
They have Harpor at 1.
True. A bunch of Shadal. What's really interesting is that they have they can run a 60 card Grass is Greener Shadal deck because I think that Grass is Greener is semi-limited over there.
It is. I have it here.
We're doing a lot.
It's at 2.
Yeah. So then you have the Code Talker deck, which is basically just a break my board,
control,
heavy control. I don't care what you want to do deck. Then they have the Eldritch. Eldritch has a much lower representation rate over there because Called by the Grave is at 3.
Yeah. It's a combination of Called by the Grave being at 3, and then if you get in a mirror situation, cross out Designator.
Yeah, there's some factors at play in the OCG that really make Eldritch, I'm not going to say unplayable, but they make Eldritch much worse than it is over here.
Oh, yeah, it makes it barely rogue, in my opinion.
I mean, when you're talking about 5 out of 200, that's like a 2% representation.
Yeah, that's rogue.
Yeah,
not quite table 500, but it's rogue.
Listen, Eldritch has the same representation over there as Adagnister. I think we know where the deck stands.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's Adagnister with all of their support that they don't have here yet over here.
Oh, yeah.
Then there's the Phantom Knights, Adamancipator, which is interesting that there's only 4 Adamancipators considering they still have Block Dragon at 3.
Yep.
I wonder what the other big difference is that is the reason that... Adamancipator 3 Block Dragon over here is tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I wonder why it's not doing anything over there. Maybe Max C?
I can only assume it's because they have Max C.
Yeah. We got some Endymion decks. Thunder Dragon, important to note that they have the grass. That grass is greener, so...
And Colossus at 1.
Yeah. Some Dragon Maid decks, some Zephyr decks. I legitimately don't even know what Zephyr is. I've never even heard of Zephyr.
Zephyr is a pendulum deck.
That explains why I've never heard of it. 2 Dinosaur. One of them is a Scrap Dinosaur. One of them is a True King Dino deck. That's really interesting to me because I think Oviraptor is limited over there.
Let me...
Almost positive.
I have it I think I've got it right here. I do not. That sounds right.
Yeah. It's a couple of Infernoid decks. Of course, the grass one. Some Numeron, some Spiral, Altergeist, and just some other generic stuff that you might see over here. So, that's the breakdown as far as the decks themselves, what the decks are running. The Drytron deck is weird. It's only running 5 Rituals, 3 Ben 10, 1 Natasha, 1 Herald of Ultimateness, and then you've got 3 Diviner of the Heralds, and Eva, 3 Alpha, 3, I guess that's Beta, and then I don't know what those last 2 are. Maybe 1 Zeta and 2 Gamma, and then 3 Mexi, 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Herald of the Orange Light, which makes sense. Your Cyber Emergencies, your Novas, your Meteonos, Drytrons, and only 1 of the Field Spell. Then 1 singular Pot of Prosperity, which seems like a weird number to run. I don't know. It's a good deck. Divine of the Heralds, though, causes them to basically have to run 2 Herald of Orange Lights in the extra. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's such a good card.
Let's talk about what makes some of these main differences, though, between the TCG and the OCG. Because there's some things on their list versus our list that enable us to see things a bit differently as far as what's playable.
Well, let's start with just the number of cards on each individual list.
Right.
So for those of you that do not know, with Yu-Gi-Oh!, the ban list consists of Forbidden, which means you can't play the card at all, Limited, where you can play 1, Semi-Limited, where you can only play 2 copies. Normally, you can only play 3 copies of any one individual card. So, in the TCG ban list, we have 101 Forbidden cards, 83 limited cards, and 1 semi-limited card. Can you guess who that semi-limited card is?
Destiny Hero Malicious.
Oh, yeah. But for a long time, semi-limited was also where... I
remember Tour Guide being there forever.
Yeah, long enough that some YouTubers called it the Tour Guide spot.
No, there was another card that was just kind of referred to as the list basically being for this card. It wasn't Malicious and it wasn't Tour Guide. There was one more card that stayed at 2 forever.
I can't think of it.
Yeah, me either.
Somebody out there knows.
If you remember that card and you know what card we're talking about, please let us know on Twitter, Reddit, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, continue on. So, that's a lot of cards banned. That's 185 total cards on this list. Compared to the OCG, to our 101 Forbidden, they have 82 banned cards.
That's interesting that their number is so much lower.
I'll get to that. You'll see why in a minute. To our 83 Limited, they have 76. To our 1 Semi-Limited, they have 24 Semi-Limited cards.
Well, found all the rest of them.
Yep. For a grand total of 185 total cards on our list to a total of 182 cards on their list.
I wonder if they really believe that 8% makes that much of a difference between 2 and 3.
Who knows? It probably depends on the actual individual cards. But just that semi-limited list being a 24 instead of 1, and I'm pretty sure they have Malicious at 3.
Do they really?
I think. I'm not entirely sure, but even still, that's just ridiculous. They don't have triple digits in anything yet.
Yeah, but I feel like at the end of the day, the lists being within 3 cards of each other, you're still going to have a certain amount of
variance?
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's also because it's completely different people. They're going to have completely different ways that they play the meta. ways to get around certain problems. Like one person might think, oh, well, I'll use this card, and this other person goes, I'll use this other completely different card.
Right.
Anyway, so the biggest differences that I've seen is, first off, they've banned LP.
Yeah, we haven't touched LP at all, but LP's been banned over there for a minute.
Oh, yeah, and there's no Dragon Link, so...
Right.
Max C is at 3, which in and of itself, I think, kind of warps them a little away from combo-oriented, just a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely impacts the metagame. That's has to be admitted, but just because it's there doesn't mean you can't play around it and really, plus it gives you the option to take the Max C challenge, whereas other things of that sort don't give you an option to take that challenge. You just have to either turn skip or nothing on those.
Oh yeah. But I mean, but it definitely makes the decision a lot easier whether or not to just keep going or in your turn if you have your own Max C in hand already.
Or you can just commit one more summon, let your opponent break even, just to get an Omni to get on board. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Let's see. They have one Orcust Harpor. That's big for Orcust players. They have one VFD, which you see what it's done to their meta, even at 1. They have 3 Ben 10 still. They still have 3 Union Carriers. Something else is that they banned Dragoon and Zexal at the same time.
Thank goodness.
Exactly. Now, they also had Dragoon a lot longer than we've had it.
That's true. They had him banned within a month of him coming out over here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It was like so he had already run his course. They had already made the OCG money off of him. So Konami was ready to just let him go.
Right.
So eventually that might be the case here with our Dragoon. Is eventually Konami will stop making money off of it and go, okay, it's time to just let it go.
One can only hope.
Oh, absolutely. They still have 2 copies of that Grasslick Screener, 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Colossus, 2 copies of Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. They still have 3 copies of Mirage Stelio. Salamangreat Mirage Stelio, I should
specify.
To be fair,
a lot of people believe that card could be unbanned here and not be a problem.
Oh, I completely agree. That's one of those cards that are banned that probably shouldn't be. They still have 1 copy of Astrograph Sorcerer and semi-limited Performapal Skullcrabat Joker. So there's they definitely have a lot more options for Pendulum decks to really do things, but they still haven't.
It's not just the Pendulum decks. I mean, to see things like Colossus at 1, that grass looks greener at 2, to see things like Sky Striker Mobilize Engage at 2, and sure, Striker's a good deck over there, but it's not the best deck by a mile.
Oh yeah, so that does suggest that they could come off a little bit on these cards over here in the TCG, but even then, that's a slippery slope that can end to possible disaster.
Yeah.
Or possibly even one of the most possibly even to the healthiest format we've ever had. We're not professionals. There's no way for us to know for sure.
I mean, it definitely could lead into some positivity into the format, but I think the biggest positive that they could do is unbanning Max C.
Please, Konami, unban.
Yeah, we're very much of the opinion. Granted, we're very biased from playing in the time where Max C was at 3, but...
And had just recently got a reprint, too.
Max C increases interplay. It's not a hand trap like Lancia, where Lancia it's like a floodgate, but a hand trap form. Max C is not like that. Max C gives you the option to, like I said earlier, if you want to make just one more summon, but that one summon, might be an Omni Negate or something like that, and then that one summon was worth it, you can make that decision. Whereas something like Lancia or Droll, it just stops you from doing something for the rest of your turn. It's a completely different kind of hand trap.
Oh, yeah. Now, something else that you do have to consider in today's meta is that if your opponent does Max C, you then have to consider, will my opponent end up drawing more hand traps while I'm doing my thing?
Right.
So, then do you do that at 1 extra summon? Do you kind of bluff you're going to continue just to get that 1 extra summon so that way they drop more hand traps? Because you've already decided I'm not going to, but let's see if I can get some more hand traps out of their hand so I can attempt a recovery on my next turn.
Right.
If you have a Max in your own hand, that completely changes the situation.
I really think Max C should be At 3. Thing is, they can't put it at 1 or 2. It's got to be at 0 or 3.
Yeah. Maxi is one of those cards where it's either it needs to be banned or completely unlimited.
Yeah, I'm more on the unlimited side.
Oh, I completely agree with the unlimited side, but I just think it should be unlimited.
Yeah, well, Konami quit asking me for my advice, so.
Well, they ever actually asked you? They never asked me. Jeez.
Well, they sent it to our group account, but I just never told you.
Man.
I know, some people suck.
Anyway,
So we do have a handful of products coming out here in the TCG, hopefully really soon.
as well as some product date pushbacks.
Yeah, we wanted to touch on this before we ended the show because there was some stuff moved back, and we assume it's due to printing errors because of COVID.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of printing errors, because COVID. Then you also have issues with shipping. There also might have been some hangups in some paperwork somewhere. There's no telling, but
Right,
it's
distribution, staffing, all of that.
Yeah, but it's I guarantee you it's due to the recent beer bug, as some people call it.
Yeah,
Some of that, or as one group of YouTubers call it, the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
that's good. I've heard people call it the crush card virus.
Crash card virus works too. Epidemic eradicator.
Right.
Anyway, you get what we're saying. It's some issues caused by what's going on around now. So first off, we do have the date pinned for when Lightning Overdrive releases in the States. June 4th. With pre-releases at your local OTS May 29th or May 30th. Go to your OTSs and ask, are they doing it? Are they not?
You can go in, get it a week early, and then get yourself a Dark Magician Girl while you're in there, because that is the current Lost Star promotion.
Oh, yeah. The Egyptian God decks have been pushed back to June 18th.
I would like to point out, I did not know these were a thing until like 2 or 3 hours ago.
Oh, yeah.
We were on the phone going over show notes while I was on this 4-hour drive back from Hot Springs, and it was literally, I had no idea this was a thing. I want to say it's not actually like a structure deck, it's more like a theme deck, right?
Yeah, it's worse than a structure deck, but better than a starter deck.
Right.
So it's a theme deck. It's a deck themed around Obelisk and Cypher, which also gives them also gives you a couple of extra cards, one exclusive to Cypher, one exclusive to Obelisk, and then another card that's just Divine Beast support.
Right. So that'll be on June 18th, and then first weekend of July, you've got the King's Court set, which was pushed back to July 2nd.
Yep. And then you have Legendary Duelists Synchro Storm, July 16th.
Right. Then you've got the Structure Deck Cyber Strike, July 30th.
Yep. And then about 2 weeks later, you got the Dawn of Majesty, the new Dawn of Majesty set, which is currently set for August 11th. And then September 17th, a month later, is the 2021 10 of Ancient Battles.
Yeah, this summer is going to be slam-packed full of releases.
My wallet's already begging for mercy.
Oh, yeah, dude. After this little trip we went on, mine is also begging for mercy. So, but that will about wrap us up for today. A little bit shorter show than last time. No need for it to be an hour-and-a-half show today. But we hope that you enjoyed it all. We hope that you were able to bear with us here, because I know we're probably not quite as high energy as we like to be.
Yeah, especially you, but you have a good reason.
Yeah, we're wrapping up this recording at like midnight Monday night to go out for 8 a.m. Tuesday morning.
Oh yeah, so I'll be up for a couple more hours
editing
this, so that way it gets good. So it's got that crisp quality. Well, as good as I can get it anyway.
Right. So, thank you so much again for listening. We really cannot begin to thank you enough. We've shown growth with every episode we've posted so far, which is exactly what we hope to do, but at the same time, kind of like beyond our wildest imaginations, right?
Oh yeah, like last time I looked, which was earlier today, we were at 50 views or listens, and I was expecting that in a year.
I don't know that I was expecting in like a year. I was hoping within like the first like month or two, not like by the end of the second week. And I think when I checked about 2 hours ago, we were at 60.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not the biggest numbers in the world, right? But for us, who just starting out in this, it's a kind of support that we just love to see, and we're so thankful and grateful for. So please let us know how you found us. Also, we want to have comments. We want you to tell us whether you found us on Twitter, whether you found us on Reddit, Spotify, however you found us, a friend told you. Be sure to let us know through that, through Twitter, through whatever platform. And be sure to share us with your friends. We're always looking to expand. We're always looking to branch out.
Oh, yeah. Also, we have a YouTube channel where we post the podcast like a week later after they release on normal podcast stations.
Yeah, and let us know if you want us to change that. We decided to go with the delayed release because while we do want the archive of all of the audio, we do see ourselves as more of a Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts type of podcast.
Yeah.
Something posted on the main channels of podcasts. So check us out on YouTube when you get a chance. It will be the older episodes, but we're still going to post them. Mm-hmm. That way everybody gets a chance to listen on whatever platform is convenient for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that'll take us out for today. You got anything to add on to the end there?
None I can think of.
All right. Everybody, enjoy your day. We hope that we get to see you Friday.
Oh, yeah. Take it easy, guys.